Hello there, I'm Andy Thompson. Please forgive me for the standard of this video, but I'm not used to this sort of thing. Everyone is concerned about being scammed and aware of the amount of fraud that is around these days. All around us we see warnings from our banks and the police telling us not to get caught out. Well, I would like to tell you my story to explain how the NatWest Bank ended up defrauding me and costing me in excess of £740,000. It all began in 2004. I'd just finished building my own family home. I'd enjoyed the project so much that I decided to carry on building as my profession. With the proceeds from the sale of a house, I bought another property in Weymouth on a site that I believed could be developed. Sure enough, in 2006 I attained planning permission to demolish the existing house and to replace it with a terrace of 3 townhouses. I arranged finance for the development through a company in Poole because no banks in Weymouth would lend me the money. I'd arranged to borrow £325,000 for the project, but I did not have a bank business account to transfer the money into. I approached the NatWest Bank in Weymouth to open a business account and explained my situation. An appointment was quickly arranged with the NatWest area business manager, Dave Humphreys, to open the account. The forms were filled in and then the area business manager asked me how much I would like to borrow. I explained that I already had the funding arranged and that I did not require the NatWest to lend me any money. He was surprised by this and said that he could not understand why the NatWest had refused to lend me the money in the first place. He asked to see the financial arrangement that I already had agreed, and after reading through the paperwork he told me that the NatWest could lend me the money and I would save between £25,000 and £30,000 if I went with their offer. Therefore I chose to borrow the money for the development project from the NatWest. The NatWest agreed to lend me £300,000 on the basis that there would be stage payments with a rolling interest and a charge secured on the properties being built. There would be no interim payments. The loan would be fully repaid on the completion of the development. The work began at the end of 2006, but I had to stop working for 3 months in order for me to arrange a temporary road closure to maintain access to the site. The work resumed in April 2007, and I only employed a small workforce on the site, so it soon became clear that the build was going to take a little longer than I had anticipated. After some design and specification changes were made for a few things, I agreed with the NatWest that I would need to borrow more money than had been initially agreed. Dave Humphreys, the area business manager, told me that this was not a problem and the work progressed. On 3 or 4 stages throughout the building, I went back to the NatWest to draw down the next payment as arranged without any problems at all, and the build went on through 2007 and into 2008. On each occasion, a new increased loan agreement was issued showing the amount of the loan and the purpose of the loan. Everything was running smoothly until one day at the end of March 2008. It was then that the NatWest area business manager, Dave Humphreys, asked me to sell him the middle property in the development for the sum of £250,000. At that stage, the properties were progressing and had just been valued at between £265,000 and £275,000. I explained to him that I was thinking of keeping the properties to rent them out and to hand down to my children at a later date. Therefore, I declined his offer. 3 months later, I needed a final £10,000 to finish off the development. I approached the NatWest area business manager for the £10,000 and he told me that it would be okay, but he asked me to provide him with a breakdown list showing what the money was for. I made out the list as requested and delivered it by hand to the Dorchester branch of the NatWest Bank, which was where he was operating from. The outstanding works came to just over £10,000, but I asked for only the £10,000 because I was finishing off most of the work myself at this stage. A couple of days later, I received a call from Dave Humphreys, and he told me that he had arranged a full £10,000 loan and we had to meet him to sign the new loan agreement. We took him at his word and did as he requested. The new loan agreement stated that the final loan was for now £442,000, and for the purpose of the loan there were 4 purposes listed. When the new loan went into the bank account, it only showed up as £2,500 in credit. At that time I did not think too much of it because I had a £7,500 overdraft facility, so I assumed that this formed the remainder of the £10,000 loan. It was only when the £2,500 had been spent and the cheques started to be returned unpaid that I questioned what was going on. I was then told that I had not in fact been given a final loan of £10,000 because I had only supposedly asked for a final loan of £2,500. I immediately brought it to the bank's attention that this was incorrect and have been trying to put things right ever since. I paid the NatWest £10 and submitted a subject data access request to find out all the information that I could as to what exactly had happened. What I can now see from the NatWest Bank's internal conversational notes is that despite me giving Dave Humphreys, the NatWest Area Business Manager, a job breakdown list showing that I needed a final loan of £10,000, he has deliberately told the NatWest that the development was now complete, but as one last request, the customer has asked for a loan of only £2,500 to purchase some railings to surround the houses. This was only one job off the list that had been handed to Dave Humphreys. As a result of this misrepresentation, I can see that the bosses above him have told Dave Humphreys to give me a final loan to cover 5 separate items. This meant that he was told to give me enough money to repay the 2 existing loans that I had with them, to also repay my NatWest business overdraft of £7,500. It was to cover the administration fees for rearranging the new loan, and finally to give me additional funding of the £2,500 that he had requested. And because Dave Humphreys knows that I actually wanted a £10,000 loan and not only £2,500, what he did is he made out the final loan agreement total showing the amount of the new final loan figure correctly to cover the 5 items, but for the purpose of the loan he has only listed 4 of the 5 items. He has deliberately omitted from the final loan agreement any mention that I was only receiving the £2,500 additional funding and not the full £10,000 that I had requested. Therefore, both sides of the loan agreement do not actually add up if you could work out what was owing on the 4 items shown, and his deception was complete. As a result of his actions, I have lost in excess of £740,000. 10 months after Dave Humphreys has told the NatWest that the development was finished and that I only required the £2,500, someone else from the RBS came to see me to inquire as to why they had not been paid back. She went back to the NatWest with another list that showed that there was still £9,600 worth of work that needed finishing, and that I did not have the money to complete the works. To actually get the extra £2,500 from the NatWest actually cost me £4,370 in administration fees to arrange the final loan, and over £36,000 in interest on the loan over the year. That's a total of over £40,000 to get £2,500 additional funding. In September 2010, the NatWest Bank took me to court for repossession of a development. It took 3 court visits between September 2010 and February 2011 before the NatWest were granted a repossession order. This was only granted in my absence because I was held up in traffic en route to the courts. Therefore, I could not argue the case that I believed that the final contract should be a voidable contract due to the omission of the material facts. I appealed this decision but lost the appeal at a hearing. At this hearing, a smirking judge told me that £740,000 was not a lot to lose, and that it was just a bad deal that it cost me £40,000 to get an additional £2,500. The judge said that I had clearly been told how much additional funding I was getting, yet when I questioned him and asked him to show me where it told me this, he could not do so. Despite having a repossession order, I did not hear from the NatWest again from February 2011 until September 2014, when they sent a representative around to the houses to knock on the doors and frighten the occupants of the 3 houses by telling them that they had to immediately vacate the houses because the NatWest were going to court for an eviction order. One of the homes was immediately vacated, but the residents of the other 2 properties went to shelter housing with their problem. Whilst I was preparing to submit my case to the courts that the tenants in the properties had lease agreements for a year, shelter housing and the NatWest solicitors made an out-of-court agreement that shelter could have 2 months extra to find the occupants new accommodation as long as the tenants ceased to pay any rent to me as the landlord and paid it directly to the NatWest solicitors instead. Because of this arrangement, the NatWest withdrew their eviction order application from the courts and I could not submit a defence. Therefore, I had to make an application to the courts to question whether or not the original contract upon which the repossession order was made could be classed as a voidable contract because of the omissions of the material facts. At that hearing, which by now was 5.5 years after the original fraud took place, the bank solicitor stood up and only said one thing. He pointed out to the judge that on page 4 of my case there was a paragraph that he thought was my business agreement that I had signed, which clearly showed that I was told that I was only receiving £2,500 and not the £10,000 that I had asked for. I corrected him and informed him that the paragraph that he related to was in fact not the business agreement that I had signed, but it was a copy of the business advisor's bosses telling him, the area business manager, what to cover when giving me the final loan. I then pointed out that in the business agreement that I had signed, the same paragraph had been altered to deliberately omit how much additional funding was being provided. He clearly did not know his case. The judge would still not allow me to take the case to court because I had now waited too long. In March 2015, I received a letter from a company representing the bank that informed me that the NatWest had in fact taken over possession of the 3 properties without going to court for the eviction. Since they have had repossession of the properties, 2 of them have gone up in flames and are now fire damaged. The NatWest have been paid out in insurance the sum of approximately £48,000. They are not going to repair the properties, but have put them up for sale as they stand for a figure of £500,000 for the 3 houses. So after all is said and done, when these properties are now sold, we will receive nothing from the sale when they were originally going to be sold for over £800,000. That's Great British justice for you. Whilst it's too late for me, I can only hope that no one else ever gets caught out by the same fraudulent behaviour of the NatWest. As for Dave Humphreys and the NatWest bank staff, I only hope that you can all sleep at night. Thank you for listening, and don't get caught out like I did. Protect yourselves because there is no one out there to protect you. Thank you very much.